Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Steve Burns and Steve Carr with Crawford Software. Today Steve Carr will be giving a presentation on Product Configurator. We gave this webinar last week. We presented this webinar. Unfortunately, we had some technical glitches and we had to re-record the session that we're doing today. So those folks that were present for the webinar, this webinar will be up on our YouTube channel and maybe sound a little bit different. We're going to try to keep it as much the same as we can. So appreciate the patience. Again, I'm Steve Burns with Crawford Software. I'm joined with our founder and president, Steve Carr. And today we're going to look at some of the features, functions within Product Configurator within Epicor 10.1. So last week we did run a poll, and the poll was, are you a Product Configurator customer? And it looked, 2/3 of the folks who attended were. So that is pretty much in alignment with what we see. So I'll start with a little background. Crawford Software has been in business since 2001. The company was founded by Steve Carr, and we have been a partner of Epicor for 10 years now. And we specialize very much in the manufacturing sector. We have a breadth of consultants, about 35 consultants, and those are broken between functional and technical and financial. So we have a really nice, well-rounded approach to solving some of the customers' ERP problems. The basis for these webinars are situations or areas of the software that we find in our customer base when we're out doing projects that they struggle with or they need help with. So this educational series is meant to help customers become more familiar with Epicor and to teach them some of the tricks of the trade, tips and tricks, if you will, on how to best maximize their investment with the Epicor system. So on that note, what I will do is I will turn the presentation over to Steve Carr, and he can run through his presentation on Product Configurator. Steve, I'm going to go ahead and make you the presenter.
All right, thank you, Steve. And while we're waiting, so I apologize to everyone. This may come across a little different. I will try to remember everything I covered during the last session. If anyone was part of the actual webinar and I was looking at this and there are any questions or something I didn't cover, please let me know. I'm trying to get back to it as soon as possible. So my screen should be showing now, and we should be able to go through it. So what I wanted to do is just walk through the PowerPoint presentation a little bit, discuss more on the Product Configurator within Epicor. This is a 10.1 instance. It hasn't changed for 10.2, so we haven't upgraded our internal instances. Just as we've talked about before on some of our other webinars, we have all the versions of Epicor running here, all the way from Vista, Vantage, and all the ERP 9s and 10s running internal, just so we keep our consulting team and everyone up to speed and current. And to help customers when they have problems, we can load your database local and we can work through problems on our local system without impacting your system. But moving on, so the agenda for today, again, Product Configurator is the intention, is the software we want to go through while we're here. The agenda, we're going to go through 2 business case overviews, and the first one is we're going to create a sales order. We're going to create it for one line item with just a minimum amount of options and choices going through the process. Go ahead and create the sales order acknowledgement just to do a print preview. There's one in the presentation, but it looks a little bit better on screen just so you get an idea of how it works. We'll go ahead and create the job that's associated with the build for that single item part, and just have a quick overview and review of the configurator rules and some of the things that went into it at that first level in determining how the bill of material was selected, how the operations were selected in the process, and going through that. Then we'll come back into the system. We'll create a second sales order. This one's going to be a couple of different, more complex lines. So we're going to go with a different choice this time. We're going to go ahead and show you how that expands the Product Configurator. You see more choices on the screen. We'll go through the multi-choice options that when we present a list of options, we also can have one option trigger, even a sub-option. So if you pick option A, you now get asked how many of option A as an example, and we'll go through that. And again, just to go through the same process, print the sales order acknowledgement, create the job, go through the method of manufacturing and review, and the system job itself, and show you some highlights there. and more discussion on the configurator rules that went into the process. That'll happen interactively as we're going through the configuration process during sales order entry. Again, this is meant to be an overview of the functionality and the capabilities of the Epicor product configurator, not a training course to substitute. If you have more detailed questions, want to understand in your business scenario how it would work, definitely feel free to reach out to either Mr. Burns or myself. We'd be happy to do a little bit more deeper dive one-on-one with you and go through a more detailed example for you on that. All right, so that's the agenda for today. The next thing we want to start with is going through the business overview, and this is just understanding the configurator we're working with and what it was intended to do. So the configurator we're working with today is for a bed systems manufacturer, and they're basically putting bed liners in and other accessories, drawers, and everything else. This one is the first process that we went through, and it has just the bed liner installation and a few options for it. We actually have another demo that we're working on. We'll probably record another one of these demos to go through it, where we've added a whole bunch of additional things such as multiple drawers and slide out trays and other configurations there. And it gets a little bit more detailed and a little bit more depth in the product configurator. But for now, we'll stick with this one. The bed systems do fit all trucks and all model years. You'll see that when we're going through the product configurator that we have, you know, your typical manufacturers, Ford, Dodge, and everybody else out there, General Motors. We also have at least three different types of material for the composite of the bed liner itself, a composite, a steel, and some other ones that are in there. We'll show you all these as we're going through it a little bit more interactively. There are two options right now in the product configurator, and that's what we're going to plan on showing today. When you do this composite one, there's very limited options that you can do with the composite material as far as additions and add-ons to the bed liner. And then when we use the standard steel, you're going to see that, so the older product line, we have a lot more options to go through. And for that, the thing to note is that we have one product configurator here, 267 possible combinations, but a total of 13 parts that are going into the build and the process that are set up there. On all the configurators, the base product prices are standard. We have discounts being applied to the order. Those are either by customer or within the standard functionality for Epicor. And then the option prices are standard for all customers, so there's no discounts per customer per the option base. So that's, again, just a little bit of a background so you understand the business model and what we're trying to show you as we go through the product configurator. The first thing I'm going to do is kick off the first sales order, and that first sales order, I'll go over to the Epicor in a second. Going through, what you're going to see as we go through this first sales order entry is we have text boxes, we have check boxes, we have radio buttons, we have drop-down lists, we have dynamic lists inside those drop-down lists that are set up for lookup tables, and you can either use a UD table, you can define them directly in the product configurator. Again, this is more to show and highlight the features and functionality you can use in the product configurator, not necessarily to walk you through step by step how to build it. During this also we have, you'll see the dynamic list of the user, the dynamic list being used for configurator table lookup. So we have a UD table that has all the part numbers assigned to it, all 267 items and choices that drive down to ultimately what the parts are, the 13 parts that are going to be configured into the end product to be installed on the customer system. We have base descriptions, base prices, all of that's coming through more UD tables in our example. And you'll see that options are defined. So the description, your options selection, and your price, these are all happening interactively during the product configurator. So as we're choosing the options, the description assigned to the part on the sales order is being built dynamically. We fill up and populate a box over on the corner that shows you the option list as you're doing it. And we also show you the price being calculated dynamically, starting with the base price, the addition of the options, and then a final net price for the line item. And we also want to show you how those things are fed back into the sales order once we get done going through the configuration process. We'll also show you some of the images. We only have one image in our demo right now. We didn't add all the other images for the actual bed pieces and things that you're selecting as you go through. This was originally intended and designed to be put up there on Commerce Connect, so it's on a website and it's more interactive to the end user. So that's why we have the pictures and presentations there. And again, we have a more detailed one we can go through with for people if they'd like to see a more detailed one. The composite system, as I said, method of manufacturing features a standard list of operations, a standard material set, and those things are being selected and chosen and reduced and brought over to the bill of material, the method of manufacturing for that individual sales order line as we make our choices during the product configuration process. Something else that's new as far as Epicor's 10, we have a copy function to be able to replicate these rules across part numbers. It makes it really easy as you're building new models and going forward or expanding functionality. We're not going to go into the configurator rules screen. I might, if we have time, dive into that and just show you a screen print of where that's done as far as the automatic tools that can be used for the syntax and building of them, which helps a lot. That helps you because you don't need to know C#. This is something that can be done for baseline configuration and baseline setup. It's a lot of point and click. So if this, then that, or if A, then C and D. Those type of things can be pretty easily built through the expression builder, and you don't need to know C# or any type of programming language. That comes into more functionality that expands as you get into more detailed, where you want to do another lookup and more additional parts from that side. So we'll take a look really quickly as we can at the expression builder. We'll talk about the return function that returns information back to the sales order and the sales order line, as I said. And that's about it right now to cover at a high level what we want to go through for this. And as I said, this is what we're going to recreate right now as the first sales order. This is basically just a test one that we did as far as creating a single, very simple product configurator using the composite system. I put it up on the screen. We'll also print it when we get into Epicor. All right, so enough of PowerPoint. We'll take a little small break and actually go into the system. So I'll just standard functionality, nothing new here. So I'm going to go through it pretty quickly as far as that. Create a new order. I can learn how to type. So create it for our customer, Crawford Software. We'll go ahead and assign our billing clerk. We'll put our PO number in. This is all normal things that everyone's used to. And we'll put a need by date for next week and a ship by date for next week, just so we have the things filled out that need to be done. Go ahead and save it, let it create the sales order, go to the lines, we'll create our new line. And this is where now we start seeing some differences once we put the part number in. So we put in our part number, the TC config, that's a base part number that has all of the options associated with the method of manufacturing, has all the operations and all of the parts that could possibly be chosen in this process. Once you tab off of that, you see that we get the part number stays the same, TC config. The description comes right off the part master. Again, straightforward stuff, all standard Epicor functionality. Things I want you to notice are we aren't putting an order quantity in and we don't have a unit price at this time. So now the difference is once you're using this and it's a configured part, we highlight the configure button and you can select that to go through the process to actually configure the sales order line for this particular customer. Excuse me. So one of the things we talked about is the image. We've got our, sorry, we did a little bragging. We put our image in here just so you can see it and going through. And you also have an image spot here, which is one we have not updated to, but this basically goes into a table within Epicor and it's a link to the image and you can see, keep changing that image as the options or as the parts are being selected and going through the process. We've got this white box over here. This is what you'll see as far as building the text as we build the part. So we give the customer the full feedback of here's what you started with as a base, and here's the options that were added to that and the pricing. So we'll go ahead and start with picking the model. We'll go ahead and go with a Ford. I have a Ford, so I usually tend to stick with doing a Ford F-150 myself. Mine's a 2014, so I keep it in that model year. You notice nothing has changed yet because we're still just building the options, so we don't have enough information to isolate down to a unique part list and available options list that are going through it. We'll pick the bed size. I have a short bed on mine because I have the king cab. And then now once we pick what type of bed, and this one we said we were going to do the composite bed system, that's where things will start changing on the product configurator. Now that we have done the composite bed system, we see description has been built out for it. A base price of $175 has been put down. The comments are starting to be put in place here for 2009 to 2014 composite bed system with a baseline price and a total package price. Now, as we start having options available to it, and this one we only have a couple of options. So drill installation, no upcharge for that. But a lot of people don't like to have holes drilled. Trucks are becoming as expensive as a high-end car, even more expensive, and people want to protect their investment. So we have an option for a no drill installation kit. As we do the drill installation, we have a $20 upcharge for the additional parts and labor associated with that. And as you can see, we populated and built out the comment text that's coming through. So now we have a bed system option for no drill installation and the $20. Just a note of this alignment, that's due to the font selection that's chosen, and we haven't adjusted that and fixed that yet in our demo model that's in our system, but we have fixed it on the output that comes out as far as the sales order acknowledgement. I can show you that in a second. Then if we add the second option for an additional rubber mat, we add another $50 upcharge, and now you can see the whole thing has been priced out, $175 total package price. We need a little bit of alignment, obviously, in the way we set this up, but you also get all the full text that would go out to the customer to say, here's what you're starting with, the composite bed system. You have two options and a total price of $245. The things that I wanted to make sure everyone saw in this is we still have on the part master in the sales order line the TC config part and the description, and we have no quantity and no price. And as you can see over here, we've actually built out and decided what the part number is that we need to get for the customer. We've built a description according to the options and other things that have happened here. And we've built the options, and we set a pricing for it. So now when I save this, I'm gonna go ahead and let it generate the new part number. As you see things are gonna come back, now when we come back into the sales order, the part number has been changed. It now matches what we saw on the configuration. The description has been changed. We have a quantity of 1, and we have a unit price here. We don't have things like unit price and other things, or order quantity in the configurator. Because of the way this was actually meant to be presented to the customer, that actually happens on the web version, and they actually enter a quantity. Usually don't get too many people ordering more than 1, but it's there and it can be done this way. They don't have to repeat data entry. They don't have to go through it more than 1 time. The thing is to be quick and show them everything in one shot and get everything back to the sales order. But that's just a few of the fields that you can update onto the sales order real time as you're going through it. And just to bring this back to, let's go ahead and print the acknowledgement. Hopefully no one's broken my test system and turned off the background jobs and it won't run too slowly. Go ahead and close that and let it come up. Let's just say, come to Task Manager for anyone that hasn't worked with it. It's still chugging. So while we're letting that chug and go away, we'll go ahead and move to the next part just so we can keep things flowing. Go ahead and go to the Order Job Wizard. And we're going to see, here's our link and everything is set up for it. Here's our setup. So we're going to go ahead and create the job and do the get details for it and generate that particular job. Go ahead and let it, there we go. And then this is the second one that I just put in here today. I'm just going to go ahead and open that with, I'm just going to go to the job tracker because it's a little bit faster, a little bit easier to get to. Now I am beating up on my poor little test system, so I apologize for the delay there. All right, here's our sales order acknowledgement. The only reason I wanted to bring that up is just show you that text box that we showed you during the process. As you can see, it's been populated out with the same details for the customer. A little bit neater because we did a fixed font. That's the problem with what we have on the screen versus what we have on the output. But it gives them a full breakdown. Here's their line, and here's all the details. Another functionality you can bring into your configurator so the customers are getting the feedback that they need on the order. And if we go to the job tracker, let me open this one up. And what you'll look at is you'll see we have a materials list and an operations list. And we have some operations to frame it, cut it, and do some assembly. We have the composite being chosen, the standard decking, regular mats, and a no drill installation kit. The reason why I wanted to bring that up as far as the job process is just so if I bring the screen over there and show it to you, if you compare that to the method tracker for that TC config part, just to open up the full list, you can see we have quite a few more parts that are going into this standard, the whole build and the choices. and we have a few more operations. So that product configurator has gone through the process of saying, based on the options that you've chosen and based on the materials you've chosen, it's gone ahead and built a bill of material and an operation set with the standard times, with the production standard run rate and everything else that's needed for it, based on the customer's design of that particular product. Okay, so that was our first one. It was meant to be a simple one, just to bring people through the process and show them what's going on. If I come back to our presentation, just to continue that, I know we don't want to stay too much on PowerPoint, but we'll go ahead and hop over to it and just bring you through. So the next thing we want to do is the second sales order. Now in this second sales order, we're going to go with a little bit different. We're going to go to that steel, the standard steel configuration. And in that one, you're going to see a lot more activity going on in the product configurator. You're going to see the design screen. You're going to see a lot of options that we have hidden currently on the screen are available to the customer and are displayed at the time after you choose the steel. You'll see more drop-down lists and more secondary dynamic drop-down lists that when you chose an A, we add even another prompt for a quantity or similar type of things. Again, all of this is going through. You'll see the price recalculate as we go through. These are all things we've talked about, the rebuild, extended description, the recalc price. Those are all functions that are putting data back into the sales order based on the options and all the other things. As we mentioned before, the C code updates, it's pretty easy to take care of, but most of it you don't need to have any type of a coding. But if you have any specific problems, if you are a current customer and you currently are using the configurator and you're stuck on something, reach out to us. If you send us an email, you can contact us through the website or through our support portal. If it's something quick, we'd be more than happy to give you a little bit of insight and maybe try to help you solve a problem. Okay. What we're going to see as we go through the seal system, trigger actions based upon the rules. So this is what I talked about, that when we choose the steel, all of a sudden we get a whole bunch of additional options. We're going to go through one where we're going to pick one option. It's going to open a quantity window. It's going to open other things for that. The database field updates will show you where operation, as far as the hitch holder, we're adding quantity to it and doing some other things there. So you can update quantities on the BOM, you can update standards on the routing and the action items that are going on there. The action, I'll go back to the execute the expression. That's really what we've been talking all along. These are all coming from everything we're doing right now, and the reason why there's some functions and features missing from this demo, we use the expression builder to do this. We didn't use any C#. We wanted to show what can be done just using the expression builder and having a good understanding of logic and how the system wants to flow and go through the process. And it really is, the expression builder is a great tool. It helps a lot to make a lot of this very user-friendly to create and build. Just as a side note, the naming conventions, try to keep everything in the same naming convention as you build the product configurator designer, as you're building your tables and everything, having everything linked, starting with that part number or some variation of it and bringing it through. That helps set a standard to find all the pieces as you're building, because there are 4 or 5 logical building blocks that are required to make this work. So having a naming convention, bringing them together makes life a lot easier for that start. Okay. Again, I know boring, we're looking at a screen print of a sales order acknowledgement, and we're going to build this one again too. And as you can see in this example, we actually had 2 lines, one for a RAM that had the very simple, and then the second one for another RAM that had all the options. That's what we're going to go through, but just to save time and everything during this one, I'm only going to configure the second line with the more options just to show you that feature and functionality that's available there. So if we hop back over to sales order entry again, I'm going to go ahead and save this particular sales order, and we're going to create a new one. And again, sorry guys, I'm just going to keep advertising, so we'll go ahead and use Crawford as the customer again. And we'll pick our contact, we'll put our PO number in. Again, nothing new that anyone hasn't done before. Put that same need by date out into the future just so we have some information for it. We'll save it. As everyone knows, a lot of this stuff defaults from the customer master and brings it through automatically. We'll go to the lines and we'll open up a new line. Again, same part number, TC config is our baseline part number for it. Tab off of it, description comes in. Again, baseline part number, baseline description, no quantity, no price. Go ahead and configure this. And again, same as we went through before, we'll go ahead and start with a Ford just because I'm a little biased on that, so I apologize. But Ford F-150, same model year and area there. Actually, you know what? Just so people maybe don't think that I'm doing something, we'll go with a Chevy. Just so we can say we haven't actually built up one that's there. And there you go. So that one is not actually working. So let's go back to the Ford. Just so we have it for reference. Again, this was built as a test prototype, and we didn't build all the functionality, and now it's really mad at me. So bear with me, folks. Again, this is a live database, so that I need to go through that. Let me go back and start the configurator again. We'll stick with what I know. That'll teach me to go ahead and veer off course. Ford F-150, 2014, bed size, small bed. Now we're going to go ahead and go with the original bed system. And this is really what we wanted to show you as far as the features and functionality and what changes with it. Now, if you'll notice, compared to the one we did the last time, we have about 8 or 9 more additional prompts here, along with the drill and no drill. So all of this came about because we're on the original bed system. So it's added all of the additional things for an end cap, side rails, hitch holders, cup holders, marine grade decks. That's something that you can put in there for some anti-slip and some storage areas. So what we want to do is just show you, we wanted to show you first, based on the fact that we went with the original system, these items all show up or they don't show up. When we did the composite, those additional options weren't there. The additional rubber mat was there, but nothing else was showing up. So we wanted to show you how you can trigger more functionality based on a choice in the original product configurator design. And just to make it really fill out the whole text block, we're going to go ahead and pick everything. So we'll start with the first two. Then we add an end cap. And that's just a little bit of neatness, tidy item on there. Now when we add the side rails, all of a sudden we have an additional prompt that comes up. Now we have even more choices. So we have now chosen side rails to go onto the truck bed. Do we want 6-inch rails? Do we want 12-inch rails? Do we want them only on the passenger side, only on the driver's side, or both sides? All of this is going to drive the part number selection, the number of parts, the quantities, everything that's going on as far as the bill of material. So if we go with the bigger ones, the 12-inch rails on both sides, it adds that as far as the text item, it adds $100 to the pricing. And again, as we talked about before, that zigzag is here because we didn't do a fixed font in this actual particular item, but on the document that prints out, we did. Same thing on the storage trays. We now can identify a storage tray, and again, do we want them on driver's side, passenger side, or both? And we're going to go ahead and put them on both sides. And again, you see this text being built out dynamically as we're building out our options, and the price is being calculated dynamically as we add things. Hitch holders. Now we have a different type of a prompt. How many? And this is done explicitly so we can show you something on the method of manufacturing that comes with it. So we're going to go ahead and add 2 hitch holders. I have a horse trailer and a utility trailer, so I need a 2-inch and an 1 3/4 on mine, so that's why I need 2. Cup holder, just because it's fun to do, and we need a bottle opener. You need to have your refreshment after you get done hauling trailers. We'll add the marine grade deck, which is just an anti-slip service, and the bi-level storage. Now those were just prompts and just basically added more parts to the bill of material as you went through the process. But you can see we started at $190. Now by picking every conceivable option in the largest way possible, we've saved it up to $773 for my bed liner. Again, we do the save, go ahead and create the part. Come back to sales order entry. Part number has been changed, different part number because of the different setup with all the options that are going on with it. Description has been updated accordingly. Quantity is set to 1, and the price is $773 like we saw in our calculation on the screen during the configurator. Now let's go ahead and print the sales order acknowledgement again. I know, exciting stuff, but we'll just go ahead and so you can see the layout for that one. Again, it looks better on the screen in a large scale than it does on the PowerPoint presentation. Oh, that one came back pretty fast already. So there we go. And again, it lines up very neatly, gives the customer full description, everything that they've had, and brings it through the process. Again, just wanted to show you that all this information can be displayed on the sales order, can be translated to the documents and the output for the customer. It's really a nice system in bringing it through and letting the customer choose what they want and giving them all the information as to what they chose and how to make it. And again, this is something where you can configure 2 or 3 different option sets for them, send them one as a quote. They can tell you, I want line 2, you move line 2 forward to a sales order. So it has a lot of features and functionality. And like I said, it can be brought forward to that Commerce Connect and put it up on a website and really start getting the customers engaged directly from your website to go ahead and create and place an order. Now we'll go to the actions. We'll do the job wizard. Once I remember where I'm going as far as anything is going. Sorry about that. Order job wizard. And we'll go ahead and do the same thing. We're going to create the job. We're going to get the details and bring it through the process. Actions, we'll create the job. That's our new job number down here. Let's go ahead and move that one over, and we'll reopen it again with a job tracker. Let that expand out. Now, what I wanted to show you was a couple things here as by a comparison point, same as we talked about before. So now if I come back to the method tracker, again, there's still a lot more part numbers on the method tracker than there are in the actual job for this order. And there are a lot more operations that are going on in here. But the things that I wanted to show and highlight that are different than what we talked about before, we added the hitch holder assembly. So if I go to the hitch holder assembly here and bring it into the materials detail, you start seeing a required quantity of 2. That's coming directly from how I answered the prompt. I said I needed 2, it added to the BOM. All of these, as far as the different parts here, we've got more assembly than we had in the first one, because now we need to have more time involved for adding the side rails and all the other pieces that I added to the build as far as assembling the kit for the customer. All right. So that's really what we want to show you. If you've got that full functionality, you can pick all the components, you can pick all the sales order operations, the job operations that are bringing through. Everything's dynamic based on how the customer answered the prompts and went through everything. Let's go back and just resume where we were before. So we have the sales order acknowledgement. We showed you that one with the 2-page. So that's really what we wanted to show inside of this. I can take a moment, since we have a little time. I went a little faster this time. Let me just pop up a couple of screens and show some things that I was talking about. So if I go to the Configurator Designer, we had talked about this as far as the process. This is where you see all of the things that are going through and all the inputs that are available to it and everything else. But this is a design screen we had discussed, where you're laying it out in a very easy grid. You see a lot of things that are going on here that we didn't talk about, you didn't see as we were going through the configurator process. These are all just catch variables that we're using to do calculations, to make determinations, and feed information back into the sales order. So it gets very congested looking on here, but when you do it in the actual design process and the customer sees it, it's much cleaner. The other thing that we wanted to do is go into the configurator entry and just bring you through so you understand the process. So when you're doing the configurator and you're setting it up and building it, you're doing the same thing you would do, and this is all attached to a part and a part revision. So you can't have one version for this and then another version for revision B, revision C, phasing in, phasing out, all the things you would do. But you're seeing all the options and controls that you have. Can it be done in the job? Can it be done on the part master? Can it be done on the order? These are all where they can create. Can they reconfigure on the fly? Standard functionality, but I just want you to see that you have all the things that are going through and standard functionality as far as Epicor. Create something, approve it, keep track of it. You have control. We have a full approval log. So as we've made changes and gone through the process, you're seeing that the product configurator, a full tracking log is being done for it. Comments are comments. We don't need to worry about that. This is all the logic as far as how, and this is controlling how you build the part master. Are you creating a part master? Are you doing revisions? How are you building the description and everything going on there? The document rules, this is where I really wanted to get to very quickly to show everyone here. So the document rules are where you are taking a look at and saying, execute order detail, order comment. This is the one that's populating the order comment based on that box that we have filled on the screen. Set the output pricing based on these. So these are all things that are set based on expressions. And I did want to see if we can just go ahead and take a look at that one. And it's not going to drill in. So I want to go through that and just have everyone, and then the smart string is the other part that you're doing, and this is building the string. Again, very complicated stuff. This is why we didn't do it in this demo, is try and walk everyone through it. But this is something that if people have direct questions, we're happy to do it. Or if someone is considering implementing the product configurator, we're happy to walk you through a more detailed one that goes into the actual building of one and showing you things that you would have to do and go through for that process. All right, well, I want to thank everyone for your time. Make sure to visit the website where you've got more business procedures. This webinar will be posted up there and other things coming to the website.
Great. Steve, thanks. It's always fun to listen to you talk. You're certainly such an expert in this field. So during our original presentation, we had a couple of questions, so we did take those down. So so everybody can hear them again. Well, the first question was, can you create unique configurations and rules for each revision of a BOM?
Yes.
Yeah.
So they're tied to, just like you do with any other standard method is attached to a part master on the part revision. The configurator is also attached to the part revision.
Right.
So if you have part revision A, you've got that release, that's what's working in the product configurator. You can have one for revision B, and that can go through all the stage cycles of an ECO and let loose when it's ready.
Okay, thanks. And the second question was, can you calculate pricing as the product is configured?
Yeah, actually, that was one of the things we were showing in there. We were calculating that price dynamically and bringing it through for options. It also takes into consideration those quantity fields. Like on the hitch holder, I had added a quantity of 2. I think they're actually in the system for 1 price, and that doubled the price. I don't remember what the exact values were, but yes, you can do all those things.
Great. Excellent. Thanks, Steve. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Hope you enjoyed today's webinar. Please visit our website at www.crawford-software.com for more information on Crawford Software and Epicor. Now, over the next few webinars, we will showcase some of the new functionality that Crawford Software has built within Epicor. Our next webinar is the first of a 3-webinar series. This first webinar is entitled Multi-Level PO Approval in Epicor ERP, some new functionality from Crawford Software. And it's coming up on Wednesday, April 18th at noon Eastern Time. We hope to see you there. You can register from our website, and I'll also look for email invitation to come out to register as well. So with that, I will thank everybody for your time, and hope you enjoy the re-recording of this webinar. Thanks, Steve.
Thank you, everyone.